it's Josh Peacock here. In today's video, we're going to be covering what's holding you back from growing your agency. It's not sales, it's not marketing, and it's not even your service delivery. You're going to want to stick around to the end as we have some of the best agency owners in the world talking about how they've delegated effectively. So let's talk about something every single agency owner struggles with: letting go and trusting your team to handle things. Trust me, I've chatted with tons of agency owners, and it's one thing that comes up every single time. Look, I get it. Your agency is your baby. You've built it from the ground up. And most entrepreneurs are used to doing everything themselves. But here's the thing. If you want to scale, you need to master delegation. Delegation is one of the most important skills to develop as a leader. Sometimes I hear a confusion with delegation and dumping tasks on your team. I see this mistake all the time. Real delegation needs feedback loops, or else it's going to fall apart. Let me break down 4 components that I've learned from interviewing agency owners that have worked really, really well. The first step is it's pretty obvious, but you need to be crystal clear about what you need to achieve. The second way is you've got to have a solid way to track progress. I'm talking KPIs, clear objectives for your senior leaders, and making everyone know exactly what they're accountable for, whether that's revenue, profit, margins, launching a new service, whatever it might be. The third one is crucial. It's regular feedback, ongoing meetings. One of my mentors told me way back that you're going to have to teach your team to be able to catch the ball when your eyes are closed. And the only way you're going to do this is through feedback and practice. The fourth is, don't forget that you're actually dealing with real humans here. Recognition and rewards matter big time. Now, when you're picking your team to delegate to, they need to pass 2 major tests. And of course, that's after we find out that they're a cultural fit and etc. So number 1 is, can they handle their work without constant management? And number 2 is, are they consistently wowing you with their efforts and their outputs? Here's some quick tips that I've personally learned along the way. Number 1 is you want to let your team play to their strengths. Number 2 is focus on removing hassles, not adding stress to them. The next one is being crystal clear with expectations. And of course, the last one is show appreciation when they actually crush it. But here's the thing. If you don't get delegation right, you're going to hit 3 massive roadblocks. You won't develop enough strong leaders who will then eventually be able to delegate for you. Your systems won't scale with your growth, and your marketing will struggle to bring in new business and new talent. When you remove these barriers, you'll be able to grow to new heights. So that's a few frameworks, key components that I've learned along the way, and I've learned from interviewing some of these agency owners on delegation. It's something that I think a lot of people really struggle with, especially just letting go of that control. So hope you enjoyed that bit. Now we're going to go straight into some of the agency owners speaking about delegation. And Mike, delegation is something nearly every agency owner I've interviewed on this podcast has struggled with. How did you deal with delegation early in your agency journey?
I didn't. I think the struggle again goes back to process and training. Until you've got people that know what they're doing and you can trust them to get it done, you can't delegate, right? That's what I'm saying. You got to have those systems in place in order to do that. I'm much better at it now because we have more process in place. But, even when there's a project that doesn't fit neatly into how certain things we do work, I have to come in and be like, here's how we're going to do this. But the team is pretty good at running with it from there. But yeah, I think delegation is like, if you're an agency owner, that's how you get to your freedom, right? Like I read a book called Good CEOs Are Lazy, and it really just like forces you to put those systems in place so you can achieve that freedom and be able to like work on the business rather than in the business.
At least for me, realizing when like I was probably the number one thing holding back the company. When it was like, I want to do too much. Like I liked sales. I liked creating content. I thought of myself as a leader, not a great leader, not a great people manager. Is I think is the bigger thing, and just realizing like I'm not a people manager, and it's really hard to be an agency CEO if you're not a people manager, unless you've got a great operations person, somebody who can be in the grind But if you look at it from an EOS model, you've got the innovator and the operator, and I'm just not an operations person. I'm like a 0 to 1 guy, and not like a 1 to 5 guy. And so, one of the best things I ever did my last agency was hiring a CEO and really giving him the reins. And he got to be the guy with the title, and he's the person that people brought their problems to and looked up to. And he was in the office every day having conversations and meeting with team members and coaching them up on how to do their role and be better contributors. And that's just not me. I can't. It doesn't matter how much I care about the company or the people in the company. I suck at I suck at what I suck at, and I shouldn't do it.
It's everything being reliant on the owner themselves. That is an operational nightmare from my viewpoint, because everything else is very difficult to improve if every single thing happening either is done by the owner or goes through the owner. And that's quite common, right? I mean, until you have probably at least 5-6 people, the owner's going to be really heavily involved. And again, most of the clients I work with are probably in that range where they're either just coming out of that period or they're about to start building a team. And up until that point, the business is the owner. So like, if you even think of ourselves, like we're very much, I'm just on my own. So it's obviously all me. You've got a couple of people with you now, which is great, but you're very heavily involved. As you grow it, then you don't become disconnected, but your role just changes. And an operational nightmare is when that isn't something the owner wants to embrace or doesn't really get. So they feel maybe they still have to be really involved, or they should be seeing everything, or they want things done a certain way. And that's where micromanagement or almost blocking progress becomes an issue. So I think it's understandable. I think it's very tough to let go of stuff. I think it's very tricky for an owner to make a shift from probably doing everything themselves to all of a sudden just letting people at it and giving them a lot of control. But it has to happen if you want to build the 2, 3, 4, 5+ million a year agency, basically.
Like I said, the biggest lesson that my coach gave me was that I was the number one constraint in my business. I'd imagine that, 95% of the people that are listening to this podcast right now, you are the number one constraint in your business, right? And so you need to kind of recognize that. You have to accept it, and you have to figure out ways that you can start to delegate the things that, that you shouldn't be doing to those that are more capable at it, so that you can focus on things that give you energy, right? There's things that give you energy, and there's things that take energy away from you. Find out all the things that give you energy, do more of that. Find out all the things that take energy away from you, and delegate that to other people.
The hardest lesson is to let go, I think. Let go of, like, I know that I can do a certain thing, and I know that I can do it really, really well, right? But I'm only one human, and I only have this many hours in a day. So letting go has been the hardest lesson, and letting others do and or delegate. Right? So I'm delegating to others. That's probably been the hardest lesson for me emotionally. I'll say that, because I've been burned by like you're running a race, you hand the guy a baton or a gal a baton, and you say, okay, it's yours to run with it. I just put in all of this effort to get them to where they're at, and then they drop the baton 3 steps in, So it's hard to let go when you've been burnt so many times. But if they can get it 80%, 85% to where you would be, then you need to let go of that. That's one of the hardest lessons I've learned, I think.
The thing I've always struggled with is, not always struggled with, I struggled with for a long time, was knowing when to delegate something. I think, I started the agency when I was 23, 24. And I think back then I was quite young. I was quite naive. I was, dare I say it, quite arrogant. I thought, oh, I can, and I think this comes from the fact that, I am first and foremost an SEO. My background is SEO. So I think I started the agency myself, and then I brought in a couple of other people quite slowly. I never set out to grow an agency. It's, for a long time, probably the first 4 to 5 years, I was certainly the core of delivery in the agency. I was doing the core of the work, and I had, a couple of roles that were supporting me in doing that. So I think what that meant is when we started to grow rapidly, I was I wasn't delegating as much as I could, on the grounds that I was almost, okay, well, I can do that myself. I don't need to delegate it. I think looking back, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is how important it is, not just for myself to ensure that I am able to work on the business, not in the business, and for other people's development to delegate, coach, mentor, and support.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video and got some kind of value from it. If you did, please make sure to leave a comment in the comment section and let me know any feedback that you have for future videos. And of course, hit that subscribe button because we will be releasing videos every single week. So you're going to want to stick around. Thank you and see you in the next one.